guys, this is Lord Chael speaking on behalf of our show sponsor, Established Titles. Established Titles is a project based on a Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lords and ladies. They allow you to buy as little as 1 square foot of dedicated land so you can officially call yourself a lord or a lady. Established Titles is not just about your ego. You also get to do some good. In addition to your new fancy title, Established Titles supports global charities like One Tree Planet and Trees for the Future to help with the afforestation effort. Your title pack gets you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land in a private estate in Scotland. Your certificate features a unique plot number where you can see the exact location of your land. And right now, Established Titles is holding 200 plots of land right next to mine. So come join me in the Bad Guy Inc. Kingdom. Getting this certificate even allows you to officially change your name to Lord or Lady. Put it on your credit card, put it on your plane tickets, or if you're so inclined, put it on your dating profile. Makes for a great last-minute gift, and there's even couples packs that come with adjoining plots of land. Established Titles is having a great limited-time sale. Go to establishedtitles.com/Chael to save 10% off today. Remember to use the promo code Chael, or just click on the link below. Neil Magny, most wins in welterweight history in the UFC. You guys heard about this? What do you think that? If you haven't heard about it, let's just play a quick game. What do you think that number is? What do you think? Neil Magny now holds it, but how many wins does it take to be the most ever wins at welterweight? Go. What's your guess? Think high. Think high, but be reasonable. Don't tell me like, oh, 1 billion wins. It'll be reasonable. 20. 20 is the answer. Magny got it over the weekend over Rodriguez, Danny Rodriguez. And I should tell you, Magny was tied when he had 19 wins with George St. Pierre. So you start understanding the company. You start understanding the weight. You start understanding how hard it is to have a record of any kind. And Neil's got it most wins in the history of that weight class at 20. And he beat Rodriguez. And I recall Rodriguez. I've never got to meet Rodriguez, but I also won't forget him. Kevin Lee. Kevin had his leg hurt. He changed weight classes. He returns at 170 pounds, and he fought this guy. This is where I find out about Daniel Rodriguez. Tough. You guys will recall, Daniel ended up in that jackpot over at that UFC where it was going to be Diaz versus Chimaev, and Danny he was supposed to fight with Holland, but he gets switched and ends up fighting the Leech. And then the crowd boos. They didn't agree with the decision. I'm right. I mean, there's a lot on this. Danny's going to want to come in. He's going to want to look good. Magny gets over on him. Now, I'm telling you guys things about the fight that I would have never told you, or at least things that if I was going to tell you, I would have told you prior to the fight. I didn't know about it. Nobody told me. I didn't know that they were fighting. Now, I don't want to be the jerk that comes in and starts scolding folks for not getting their message out there. But I could go a step further. I was told on very good authority there was not an event this weekend. That's what I was told. But now I find out that Neil Magny, who's done this more times, oh, and by the way, more times successfully, is on the card and he's in a co-spot. That makes me real curious. Who's headlining this thing? This has got to be somebody really tremendous. Now, we talked about Neil Magny a number of years ago. The way time goes, but it was about 3 years ago. And he had just done something real special. And I want to say it was he had gone out and he got his 7th win in a row. And when I say we, it was Errol Hawani and I. And we're talking about Neil, talking about how good he is, how impressed we are. And he checks the boxes, right? I mean, he looks very athletic. He's long. He's a handsome guy. At that point, he was young. We're never as young. 3 years later, we're not as young as we were then. Neil just does a great job, and when you do hear from him, you're interested in what he says. Like, he really does check every box, but he stays kind of quiet. He goes under the radar. And Errol and I had done a piece. Now, I didn't know Neil. I didn't have an access to Neil, but Ariel did. So after we put the piece out, Errol hears from Neil, and Neil levels with him and says, when I first saw it, I was mad. I didn't like it, but I slept on it. I slept on it another night, and now I agree. I see that you're right. I have an obligation with the opportunity that I'm being given to get my story and my message out there. He said that he saw that we were right. And my extent of attempting to help or attempting to reach out to Neil Magny had something to do with food. I'm not remembering it clearly. I want to say it was a Sunday. There was something that Neil Magny ate, and I saw it, and I sent him a message. This was over Twitter. But I was trying to engage this, and whatever I got back is the kind of answer where you have to elect yourself the mayor of Get the Hintville and move on. Whatever response I got, it was a one word, it was something, okay, if we can't talk about whatever this was, I don't know how we're supposed to go and talk about anything else. It was just a hard spot for me. Hard spot for me when I recognized this talent, and I thought I have an obligation, I have an opportunity, I have an audience I want to bring it to, and I got chopped off at the knees. So now here we are with Neil, and here we are all of these years later. I was told on good authority there was not an event at all. I found out after the fact there was a record-setting event in terms of what Neil did. I start working backwards. I find out it's not the main event. It was a co-main event. Moreover, how did I not hear about this, and whose fault is it? Now, before we go back and forth, I only share this because this is largely what we do over here. We look at people who aren't getting attention, who deserve it. We then offer suggestions on how they could get it. Or we observe somebody who did a great job of getting attention, and we break down, right, like a fine poetry. We will break down what the author did that succeeded. If they left us with words or they left us with an emotion. And then we fade to black, roll the credits, and come back and do it again the next day. And what is it that you would like to see from Neil? Right? Because there's only so many options, guys. And I can take it back to school. About every 12 months, I feel as though I must give the exact same speech, which is, what is promotion? That's the big mythical question, and I ask it to you, and then I pause and I wait. Because I'll hear people that say, yes, look at this. I've beat 19 men in a row. I'm tied with George St. Pierre. I've beaten 20 men in a row. I've now beaten George St. Pierre. How come that story isn't out there? And go, wait, time out. What is, in your mind, promotion? Is it magazine covers? Is it headlines on the .coms? Is it main event marquee spots? Is it posters? Is it billboards? What is it? It's storytelling. That's it. If you have heavy promotion, it means somebody has put a lot of money and effort into telling your story. If you're good at promotion, it means you're a good storyteller. If you have a huge fight within your promotion, it means the audience liked the story that you told. It's just storytelling. During the holidays, Ultimate Fighting Championship, Dana White specifically, began to send out presents. They sent presents to 556 athletes under contract, and that gift was always $500. One time there was even a gift card to the store, to the UFCstore.com, $500 to every single athlete. So it's right around that 500 mark is why I say that. One year it was a laptop. But if you were to go see what that laptop cost, it was about $540. Right around this 500, pretty nice gift, right, when you got to buy 556 of them. But Dana sends a camera out. He sends out a camera out one year, and the next year, the Christmas was a laptop. Well, these camera and the laptop sync together through a cord that was also part of the gift. And the message, for any of us that took the time to thank the person that gave the gift, Dana would write back, start vlogging. He did not write back, you're welcome. He did not write back, anytime, kid. He did not write back, Merry Christmas. He sent it at the holidays. It was a gift. It came wrapped. He was expecting you to use it to work. He said, start vlogging. And it was a massive message when social media came through, because you used to really need a promoter. So then the promoters would have all of these debates of what is a great promotion. Most big fights, guys, just so you understand, you had the in-house crowd, and then you had the betting going along, and you had the popcorn you were popping, but most of the business was done, and most of the fights were watched over a transistor radio. You couldn't even see it if you weren't live in attendance. These were the big boxing fights. The Jack Johnsons, the Sugar Ray Robinsons. You watched them fight over a transistor radio at some point. So how do you promote the damn thing? How do you get the word out there? How do you get people excited? Same thing was true with professional wrestling. Professional wrestling used to hold events at Madison Square Garden. It was huge, right? Wrestling was believed in this before. They revealed the fourth curtain to let us know that they're cooperating with each other. And you get a promoter that would take 2 athletes, he'd stick them in the back of a cart and he'd drag them through town. He'd drag them through and say, this monster is going to be at the Garden. And people would run out of the stops and they'd run out of the stores. And that's how they did it. This is how they told their story. However you want to do it, whether you want to get in the back of a cart and have somebody drag you through Times Square, if you know people are going to come look, wouldn't it be the world's worst idea? If you want to take the world for what it is, which is something that operates on free information known as the internet and through social media, and you have a story and you got a camera, by God, go out and be your own promoter. Go out and tell the story. And we've seen guys that have done just that. I mean, I shared with you guys that Kevin Lee had flown to Portland and come and seen me before he got a plane and flew to, at that time, California, go do the Joe Rogan show. Before he had flown, he puts his own PR tour together. He didn't feel that the UFC was doing enough for him. He did his own PR tour on his own credit card with all of his own contacts. When that PR tour was done, he got a phone call that he was going to be fighting for the championship. Just so you know, that's what happened. Kevin Lee got a phone call. It was an interim championship opposite Tony Ferguson, but that's what happened. Colby Covington went and hired his own cameras. Henry Cejudo went and hired his own cameras. And you might say, well, I don't like it, or the UFC production is better. Yeah, I got it. I'm just telling you that if you have a story to tell, they got access to the internet. You got access to the internet. They got cameras, but now you can go get a camera. I'm just sharing with you. I'm just planting that with you. Whatever you want to do with it is up to you. I'd really like to have seen Neil fight. Neil Magny versus Daniel Rudd, that is an amazing fight to start with. The fact that it was a co-main event, now I'm going to see these guys for 15 minutes. I mean, these two both got high energy. I just would have loved to have seen that fight. The mere fact that there was a record on the line, I'd have liked to have been there to support Neil Magny. Even if he and I's relationship is very limited to a DM that I found him on Twitter a number of years ago over what I believe was an ice cream sundae, it's still a guy that I like to watch. I'd have liked to have known that. Great promotion is great storytelling. I don't know where this story was. It seems like a really good story. I'd have loved to have brought it to you guys a week ago, but nobody had brought it to me.